What's up, guys? Welcome back to Duly Noted. It's been a minute since we've been here. I have the ever so lovable Jennifer with me today. For those of you who don't know or quite remember her, this is my wonderful wife who tolerates me to no end.
Yes.
What do you say to the populace, my dear wife?
Hi.
Okay, well, we're just doing an episode on a whim. We have no idea what we're going to talk about, but you may get some of the questionable humor and banter between our marriage. That's our day-to-day life. It's pretty. Just to get an idea. How would you describe to people what it's like to be married to me?
You never know what you're gonna say next.
What-
Like, I've been married to you for almost 5 years now, and I still don't know what's gonna come out of your mouth the next 2 seconds. It's something else every day.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think?
I say it's a little bit of both.
Okay. What would you say it's one of my more appealing characteristics or one of the less appealing?
It's a little bit of both. You can put it in both categories. Depends
Well,
on what
dang
you
it.
say.
Okay, I'm trying to catch her here. Like, does she still love me? That's what I want to know.
Yes.
What? Okay, just to give the audience watching. Hello, everyone. We have no idea. Like I said, we have no idea what we're going to talk about. To give you a glimpse of how my mind works, what is one of your most favorite Tom to Jenni quotes? There's a lot of them. And when I say Tom quotes, these are the pure idiocracy things that come out of my mouth.
I don't know.
I think one of my
okay, so one of them, I don't think I can say it, but it was the one that went with my legs are itchy, and then
I think mine is asking you, would you still love me if I was a baby?
Yeah.
These are the questions that keep me up at night. You know, how does one's marriage go on without the answers to these questions?
Oh my goodness.
There are a lot more stupid questions and a lot more stupid statements that go, a lot of them appropriate, a lot of them not. As marriage is, that is the way that it works sometimes. But that also being said, behind closed doors, you're the only one that gets to see that. So
Yeah, that's
you're the
true.
only one that needs to see that. So you get to see Tom unhinged.
Lucky me.
Oh, but anyway, so we're hanging out. It's a wonderful evening. We dropped our kids off, so we are kid free momentarily. We came home to after grocery shopping earlier. My beautiful wife Jennifer went and got groceries. We went and dropped the kids off. Came back, and the dog had completely just destroyed an entire
thing of Parmesan cheese.
cheese.
It's gone.
Like
It's no more.
that dude.
We didn't even get to have
man.
a sprinkle. It was really
heartbreaking.
sad.
So that's been our evening so far, but it's been a good day. It's been a good week. We got to do a lot of fun things. I mean, we
gotta watch episode 5 of Ahsoka.
Oh, we're gonna talk a whole thing about that.
I know.
Yeah. Which I mean, I
watched it multiple times.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say we were having.
It was a movie in itself.
I mean, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But I mean, I was saying we had a good weekend otherwise because we did a bunch of stuff this weekend. Yeah. We got to spend time with the kids. We got to
free museum day.
Free museum day. We went to three museums. We went to Remington, which is a nature center for those of you that aren't familiar. If you haven't checked any of these places out, these are, in my opinion, the best 3 museums in St. Joe. And we went to those specifically, but we went to Remington Nature Center, which is right next to the River Bluff Trails. So if you're a biker, you can go out there, check that out. It's a great place for your family. They got lots of activities, cool stuff like that. We also went to Albrecht Kemper, is it Museum of Contemporary Art or just art?
It's just art.
Just art. It's an art museum. They have like
Art
a lot of cool
museum.
pieces. There's some like classical Renaissance and some more modern art. They're really cool. Back in the day, I actually did some soundscapes for some of the art there. So they're kind of like mixed media pieces that they would put. So it's kind of cool back in the day. I don't know that they still do that, but it was cool when it happened. Then we also went to Pony Express.
The Pony Express.
Pony Express Museum. Really, really cool. Ton of people there. There were way more people than I've ever seen at that place. And I've gone a lot there.
It's the potty watch.
Oh, I hope that makes the recording. That is great. I don't know. This hopefully might be relatable to some of the people watching this, or maybe parents watching. We're
just listening.
We're not struggling. We are
fighting a battle.
We are fighting a losing, or it feels like a losing battle when it comes to potty training right now. Which we have going off in the background is our potty time watch. And it's Olivia's potty time watch, our youngest, and she's trying to potty train. And it is something else, man. I've never had so much trouble getting a kid to potty train as I have little Olivia. And man, but we think we've got an incentive though. We all bike. We'll go out and ride the parkways and some of the dirt trails together as family and stuff like that. We have promised her if she can learn to consistently potty, she's going to get a new bike. So you guys should
pumped for this bike.
Yeah. So if you guys could like send some good vibes, or if you have any better training advice for a struggling parent, we have cried ourselves tonight. At least,
we've cried ourselves tonight.
You know what I mean. We've cried ourselves to sleep regularly, pretty much every day while she's been trying to potty train.
Yeah.
And I know, I feel bad because like it's Sunday school and daycare, they're pretty frustrated. And
daycare not as much, because I guess she does pretty good at daycare. It's just whenever she's at home with us and at
she
church.
gets lazy. She gets lazy and she doesn't want to go. So it's a struggling battle. So if there's anyone watching and you got some good tips, we need them. We're struggling at the moment.
Please.
But anyway, it's been a cool weekend. Got to do a bunch of stuff. We went to the Southside Festival, obviously all the museums. We went and saw the kids, or some of my students, play in their bands, which is always a really good time. It's crazy that, those kids are so stinking good, because like the arsonists specifically, those guitar players are better than me. I hate it. I hate them. I hate that they're so stinking good. But I'm very proud of them. You get like that sense of pride, awesome. Like proud dad. Yeah, they're gonna. That when like someone's gonna go some places, like that group's gonna go play, as long as they stick together. I mean, they're gonna go.
And they put on such a good show too. Like it's not even just like great music that they do. They put on a good show altogether.
Oh yeah, but I mean like. You're jamming. Olivia.
You're jamming. Our little 4-year-old is like
she's bobbing her heads.
Banging.
Well, then even Ava was like, "Can I go up to the front?" And she was like, "Ooh, you're going to the pit, bro. Like, you better be careful, buddy." Like, and she was fearless. She's like, "I want to go up to the front." I'm like, "Okay, you go for it, dude."
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's cool to see kids and stuff like that. So, but anyway, talk nerd stuff.
Yeah.
What nerd stuff you want to talk about?
I've already alluded as to what I want to talk about.
Jenny's really bad at hiding her excitement sometimes. She's like,
I can't keep secrets.
No, she doesn't. She's so bad at keeping them.
I'll go and buy a Christmas present and I'll be like,
"You want it?"
And I'll be like, "Hey, do you want to know what I bought you? But you still have to unwrap it at Christmas time, but I'll tell you right now exactly what I bought you, which package it is, and which one, in which order it will be that you will be opening it."
Oh my gosh. Ava is just as bad too. There was one Father's Day where Jenny took the girls shopping and to get a Father's Day gift, and they come back and Ava just comes running up to me, Daddy, we got you a Father's Day gift. We got you belts." Like, she has no concept of like gifts and stuff, and it's just like, oh, come on,
like
sweetheart.
we can't tell her anything anytime like of any gift we get for her siblings because we know they're gonna find out before the time comes around.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful though. It's beautiful. If I ever really want to know what my gift is, I just gotta go ask her. Yeah, I just gotta ask her because she'll tell me in a heartbeat. But yes, so Jenny was talking about earlier. We got to watch episode 5 of a very, very cool show. So for those of you that aren't in the Star Wars world, we're gonna talk like nerdy for a little bit. So if you have not watched Ahsoka, we are gonna spoil everything. So this is the time where you need to turn away. If you intend to watch skill issue. If you intend to watch Ahsoka, just turn off the podcast here because you're not going to want to hear this.
Just listen anyway.
Well, okay. So I want to talk about episodes 1 through 4 first. Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've just completed episode 5, and there's a lot of things going on in episode 5. What has been your experience so far and thought, which we haven't like talked about this in depth, but we like get excited and watch it obviously every week. Mm-hmm. So what have been your general thoughts on episodes 1 through 4 so far?
I really like them.
What about them? Like what I mean, you're
so in depth with my answer.
Yeah. I like they good.
They do the good stuff.
Yeah. I mean like for me, this is the
way that the first episode was literally like continuation from Rebels.
Technically, it was episode 2.
It was at the end of episode 1. Was the same framing. Yes, it was with Sabine. 2. It is the end of episode 1. I will grab my phone and we will go look back at it right now.
All right, this is what a marital dispute looks like, ladies and gentlemen. We're already like 2 people passionate about Star Wars. They're like, I know this, blah 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 blah.
I promise you, it is the end of episode 1. Whenever she walks up to the mural and she does the tappy thingy.
Dude, okay, ready for this? I'm going to destroy my wife on this podcast. Are you ready?
Are you
ready
for it?
How they end episode 1. Sabine is shot and left dead. Episode 2 is because that's how they released both the first episodes.
Oh, it's because we watched it all in one night.
Yes.
That's why. Okay.
Yeah. So end of. She's trying.
You'll never hear that again, folks.
Oh, no, in Star Wars you will. But yeah. So episode 2 of which they released, the way they released it, they released it in 1 and 2 episodes at a time for the first 2, mm-hmm. and then they started releasing episodes weekly. Well, the first episode, you see Ahsoka basically in an ancient ruin, is what it looks like, hunting for this device.
Wasn't that like the place of like that where the Dark Sisters and stuff?
Night Sisters, yes.
Night Sisters.
Yeah. So the Night Sisters, there's like so much cool lore behind the Night Sisters. There is. I mean, that's what it is. Well, and so like you've seen Night Sisters in Clone Wars.
Yes.
So Night Sisters in Clone Wars, they're really, really cool.
If you haven't watched Clone Wars, go and watch Clone Wars. It is not a children's show.
Yeah.
It is.
Clone Wars is by far one of the best animated series just out there. Yeah, it's so good. Dave Filoni, he knows what he's doing. But the Night Sisters, so you see them in Clone Wars, but then you also see them in Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, like those EA mm-hmm. games. And
which I don't know as much about the games.
Granted, it's not like it's not as crucial, but like you get to go on Jedi Fallen Order, you get to go to Dathomir, and you get to you basically fight Maul apprentices and Night Sisters the whole time.
Oh, sweet.
And it's really, really cool. Yeah, we should let you play that at some point.
Yeah.
But anyway, circling back to episode 1 of Ahsoka, you see the ruins that Ahsoka is basically scouring, looking for this device, and she's being hunted by
They're like robot
They're
guys.
like really intense robots.
They're like
droids.
Yeah.
But they're apparently packing a nuclear punch almost in them.
Yeah, like
they have a self-detonate.
If they're losing the fight, they're like, gonna blow myself up,
and then like kill like half a planet. Was what it looks like. I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous that they set it up that way. But anyway, because then there would be no map or be no way to get to that. So I think that's kind of might be a plot hole, but. But anyway, just a thought on critique on that. But so the first episode basically alludes to like, oh, we found it. We need to find a way to decipher this. And what is this device? And they then go to our Rebels clan. So we get our first look at our live action Rebels. So you could see Hera, you could see Sabine, you could see Chopper. I mean, Chopper. The little chaotic gremlin that is a robot. Gremlin. But so from there, they go to Sabine because Sabine is one of the most intuitive people when it comes to. She's not a great Force user, but if there's anyone that can like decipher this object, it's going to be her. So they take it to her. She basically steals it, and without letting Ahsoka know. And while she ends up solving the puzzle, and it ends up being a map, so you get to see a map through different galaxies, so beyond the Star Wars galaxy, so you get to make a bigger picture. So now we're talking about a whole nother realm here.
But what the map leads to is.
It is so. What the map is alluding to is Admiral Thrawn or Ezra Bridger. So they believe that's what they're sent. Yeah,
disappeared at the end with the whale guys.
Yeah, so that's where we see them. You see two new basically antagonists. Is that the bad guy?
Antagonist is the bad guy.
Thanks.
Protagonist is the good
ELA 101. I can't remember anything about you. So you've got two new. Well, technically there's three, but you see two new antagonists. You see two Jedi. You have Shati. Shin. Is that her name?
That's her name. Is Shin.
Wait, what's her full name? Shin.
I don't know.
Oh, I just
got Shin. Just because I have a lot of TikToks with somebody that's like.
Yeah, I know. We're talking about a common interest TikTok. So. Well, it's funny because whenever this particular TikToker, she originally, whenever Mando season 3 was out, she literally encompassed Bo-Katan's personality, and now for Ahsoka, she's taken on this
Shin.
new which I think her username right now is Dollar Tree Shin or something like that, just to be a knockoff, to be funny or whatever. But you see these two new Force users. They aren't technically Sith, I don't think.
I don't think
they are.
They're Imperial, if that's like how you want to put it.
Imperial,
they're like...
yes. But so, and I had watched an interview with Dave Filoni, and he specifically made it to be where their lightsabers aren't red. Mm-hmm. Their lightsabers are orange.
Hers like it's like a orangey pinky color.
They're both orange basically.
Yeah.
But it's
like such a shade of orange.
It kind of
that
looks
if
red,
you didn't know it was orange, you'd think it was red.
Yeah, for real. But it's a subtle nuance. So
yes.
So you think in the way that they also in the first episode you see them breaking off the I've already forgotten the girl's name from Mando season 2, who Ahsoka arrests. Who's the one? Morgan, yes. So Morgan, who ends up being a Night Sister. We didn't know that. Surprise. But because you don't see that in season 2, you just think she's kind of like a samurai type baddie. And yeah, I mean, because she's fighting Ahsoka, bro. So you see this, and they release her, and they're like, she immediately looks at Raylan and says, "You are good at what you do," and he says, "I'm good for what you pay me to do." And so you could tell he's not evil necessarily; he's just doing it to an ends meet, basically. Yep. But yeah, so fast forward to Sabine finishing the map. She then is approached by more droids and by these this new, we'll call them
Just the girl shows up.
Yeah.
Just
well,
but
her. It's the girl, but it's with droids.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so she's got like a crew of droids. But yeah, so you see Shin. I want to say it's like Shin a T or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the last name is. So sorry, my guys. I'm letting you down. But anyway, so they get into a fight. Sabine and this other Force user. Sabine ends up getting stabbed and what we think is mortally wounded.
But it's to the side.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
She's all good.
So here's the thing.
It's not right through the middle like Qui-Gon. Everybody's like Qui-Gon's over here like, y'all could have saved me this whole time. Lightsaber through my chest.
It's exactly. Well, and I saw videos or like when people like reenact like the Force Ghosts in like TikToks.
Yes.
And there's. It's always the ones with Qui-Gon and where he gets stabbed and he sees someone get like Rey Force heals someone or like Sabine lives from a lightsaber. He's like, oh come on, like, and like oh, I mean I think it's funny. Like, why you gotta be salty in the afterlife, bro? Like, it's fine. Yeah, you're part of the Force now. But anyway, goes to episode 2. They are basically, you see this whole dilemma of like what they're trying to do, and it sets up Sabine to accept Ahsoka's mission. And the coolest thing about episode 2 is the last scene. The last scene of episode 2 is the final scene of Star Wars Rebels. So you see Ahsoka waiting next to a ship, next to her ship, and then you see Sabine looking at the mural, touching it, looking at Ezra and the squad, and Sabine walks towards Ahsoka. And that is mirror by mirror image, almost screen for screen shot of how the end of Rebels is. So this is a continuation of the end of Rebels at this point. Then we have episode 3, which I don't really remember what happened to episode 3 or episode 4, to be honest. It's kind of a blur. They get to the planet. They have to get to the planet.
Yes.
Oh no, I remember. They realize that because they're decommissioning Imperial ships. You remember?
Yes. They realized that.
Yeah, and so they're trying to find, there's some Imperial remnants in these ships that we're decommissioning. Well, you have Hera, who comes in the scene, is now a rebel general who's a higher up general, and she's like, what good is this rank if I can't use it? So let's go check out this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And so they go there and they're saying, what's this hyperdrive doing here? What are we doing with this? And the guy goes up to look at the records and he's like, I don't know what's going on with that. It's not on my flight logs. It's not on blah blah blah. And then immediately you see remnants of the Empire come and attack them and trying to take them off. And then we see a mysterious brother, Merrick, who is another Force user who looks like who it appears to be an Inquisitor. But he's almost wearing like a Jedi suit of armor. It's cool.
It was cool
like,
looking.
It's
but
different.
all the theories that came from this guy.
Right.
And they were so wrong.
Oh my gosh, which is so funny.
It was so funny.
So, episode 3, you see them getting the parts to go to another planet where they're setting up preparations to make an intergalactic jump, basically. And we see Merrick, and because the whole reason Merrick's character was so elusive was because Sam Witwer, I think is his name. He's the guy that voices Darth Maul and Starkiller.
Starkiller.
They were thinking, oh my gosh, and because
this dude's Starkiller.
But the thing was,
it was the line
that he said, and he says, "As you wish." That's a line from Star Wars: Force Unleashed. She's quoting
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride over here. As you wish. But so you get this whole other wave of people like thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to see Starkiller. Which if we saw Starkiller, it would change the entire Star Wars universe. You would have the new biggest bad person within the universe, far greater than Thrawn. For people who don't know who
Starkiller is.
Yeah, so this, and I don't know if this is technically canon or not, because they go back and forth between legends and like what is in the universe and what is not in the universe. But Starkiller is a uniquely connected Force user who ends up becoming Darth Vader's apprentice, which this would fall within that timeline, which would be after. But he is so powerful with the Force that the end of Force Unleashed 1, Force Unleashed 2 was just it like literally you could play it in like 30 minutes and be done. It was really sad. The first one was really good, but the way you end the first one, you basically pull a Star Destroyer from space into the planet and crash it. That's how strong with the Force this guy is. And it's absolutely ridiculous to see someone that powerful. If to make them like canon would be unreal. So that's why people were like thinking of this theory, like, oh my gosh, if this guy, because the man that voices that guy was listed in the cast and he said a line from Star Wars Force Unleashed. So we saw these skepticisms, and I mean, I was one of them too. I was like, oh my gosh, bro. And it was so funny because once they get to the planet with the Inquisitor and the other two Dark Jedi, we'll call them Dark Jedi because they're not really Sith, but they're not really Jedi either. But they get to the planet, they are basically trying to stop Morgan from taking off. And in the process, they end up fighting this Merrick character. And it was the...
What they call him, a space fart?
Yeah, I don't... Well, it was
That's
like
what
such
some people said about it. Oh, man, we were hoping he'd be this big guy, and it just turns out he's a space fart.
Well, and it was kind of one of those things you're like, what the heck? And so what happens in the scene, you see Ahsoka and Merrick fighting, and you see Sabine and Shin fighting in the distance. So they're basically trying to stop Sabine and Ahsoka from getting to the ship. They're just trying to kill time, basically. Well, in the process, Ahsoka ends up getting stuck with this Merrick character, and they're fighting, and Sabine and Shin end up running away and taking the fight closer to the ship, and Ahsoka strikes Merrick through the chest, and you immediately see just black essence, black and smoke green. Just pour out. Yeah, black and green like smoke and essence. And so what that basically means is that it was actually a facade. Yeah, I don't know if it's a reanimation or if it's just something, but it's magic from the Night Sister. That's what it is. So we don't know quite how Merrick came to be yet. If it is a reanimated person, maybe it was like the reanimation of Starkiller. Maybe like in this universe he's dead, or maybe I don't know. We don't know. It could just be that the Night Sister just had a thing animating a suit of armor. I don't know, but it was very weird. It was kind of I remember us watching it and going like, oh yeah, I was like, okay. Oh, that was,
dang it,
yeah, that wasn't the big reveal that I was hoping for.
Yeah,
but that being said, if they had announced like Starkiller,
it would have been a whole other
deal.
It
would have changed the universe. It would have changed the universe. So, but that being said, they're prepping it for episode 5. Which, so end of episode 4, they're trying to stop Morgan to get to the ship, and
they have the map and they have the directions.
They have the map. They have the directions, the coordinates where they need to go.
That's what this fight was about. Was trying to stop them from getting it finished and everything.
Yeah, and the reason the map is so important is because it's a map to another galaxy. So we're talking about intergalactic travel, not like just within a galaxy, but within different galaxies. So you're traveling at a much different space. So they had to have these hyper engines that would allow them to do intergalactic travel. So That's why specifically they had to have these coordinates, because if they just did it, they would shoot into nothingness and they'd be lost forever, basically. So they have to know where they're going. Well, end of episode 4, we see Raylan. Rayland.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is. His actual name is Ray.
Oh,
I think that's where you keep.
I think that's where I get stumbling.
Stumbling.
Yeah. But he.
The actors.
Yeah, the actor. He pushes Ahsoka off a cliff, and in the process, she falls to her. What we assume is demise. Yeah,
but I mean, at the same time, you're like, nah, it can't be, because how could you have the rest of the Ahsoka series without Ahsoka?
And we're only on episode 4, and there's 8 episodes.
There's 8 episodes.
But then we see Sabine interact with these 2 dark Jedi, and Shin is ready to take Sabine's life, like ready to kill her, and this other Jedi. He basically says no, and he almost has like a sense of like honor about him, the way that he talks and like his demeanor, and he says, you want to see this through. Why don't you give me the map and we can see this through together?
It's like I get what I want and you get what you want.
So it's kind of this weird cohesion between the two. So I think. And I'm really, really sad because the actor that played this character, he did pass away this year, and I think he does an excellent job. And I really would have loved to see that character develop. I mean, maybe even like become a good Jedi. I don't know. Yeah. But
I mean, we still have 3 more episodes. So
we got 3 more episodes.
Who knows what's gonna happen?
But that actor passed away.
I know.
So he won't get to continue that saga, which is heartbreaking, especially when you get attached to him. And we've only seen 5 episodes with this guy, and actually we've only seen 4 with him. But I immediately already like love his character. I love his approach and stuff like that. So end of episode 4, and I've said end of episode 4 at least 3 times now. In episode 4, they take Sabine into custody. Sabine hands over the map, and then they fly. They board and they fly intergalactic travel. So
while they're flying out, though, Hera
and
like an unapproved
there's a group, unapproved group of rebel troops, X-wing fighters. They come to the planet to help and support Ahsoka and Sabine. So that happens, and immediately as they come in, Morgan and the other Jedi, they fly out, ended up destroying like 2 or 3 X-wings like immediately, and then that's the end of episode 4. So it kind of
no, that's not the end of episode 4.
Oh no,
because the end of episode 4, you see Ahsoka laying on the ground, and you just hear, "Hey, Snips," and we're all like, "What's going on? What's happening?"
So the end of that's true. You
hear the word Snips, and you're like, ah.
You see Ahsoka basically opening her eyes and waking up, and you see what is something that is great from Clone Wars and Rebels. You see the world between worlds, and you see Anakin Skywalker,
Hayden Christensen, in all of his glory,
facing Ahsoka, and that ends episode 4, and it takes us to episode 5, which I don't want to like just jump in. First reactions of episode 5 before we even talk about it. What did you think?
Well, we watched it more than one time. So.
We did watch it. What your first viewing? What was your thoughts and takes on it?
It was like its own cinematic masterpiece, like, cause I don't know how to explain it. You got a bunch of different sections from Clone Wars in it, and I don't know how to words.
Episode 5 to me,
it was amazing.
So this is to any Star Wars person that has not watched the Ahsoka series. Bald, right? Yeah.
My eyes.
Jenny's just full of memes. But for real talk, for episode 5, if you are a person that loves Star Wars, that has watched this is by far probably the greatest Star Wars cinematic moment I've ever seen. Talking about and we're talking the culmination of the actual cinematic films. We're talking about the animated series, It is a piece of literal cinematic art that ties them all together and makes one cohesive just entity. And there were so many times we were just watching the first time I said nuh-uh, like, and I was like nuh-uh, and I kept going,
like
and
when
okay,
she,
so
like, fell through the smoke, and I was like, she's little.
Yeah,
that's little.
That's
not an adult woman.
Yeah, right. So it truly, and so I mean, first off, before we dive into this, go watch this. It is by far the best piece of Star Wars universe history, anything I've ever watched. It literally brought my heart so much joy watching it, because there were so many things, and we had to rewatch it because watching other videos, we were like, there are things that we missed.
How did I miss?
Like, how did I miss this? Like, one of the okay, so we'll talk through the episode, and then I'll explain some of the things that I missed. We see Anakin and Ahsoka in the world between worlds immediately. They're taking the conversation from the end of episode 4, and Ahsoka's like, "What are you doing here? What? Why am I here?" And he goes, "I'm here to finish your training." She goes, "What? Why are you here to finish?" Yeah, he's like, "Yeah." He's like, you still gotta learn. You've got a lot to learn, and that way you can finish your training, and just goes on from there. And he says, "You've got to learn to fight or die.
It's live or die.
Or live." He's like, "You've got to learn to live or to die."
Did you miss one of the first interaction words that happened between them? That she was like, "You look the same," and he goes, "You look old."
Art. And I mean, I gotta say, God bless Dave Filoni. You are the unsung hero of millions of people right now. You don't even know it, dude. I want to high five you at some point, just to give you your hand, shake your hands, and just, I don't know. This is the hand that has helped create Star Wars. But anyway, so he says it's time to live or die, and then he ignites his lightsaber, and they start going into a duel.
She says, "I won't fight you."
She says, "I won't fight you." And she says, I know all your tricks. And basically he starts going, he's like, "Well, I didn't teach you everything." And he immediately goes, takes his lightsaber, swipes the ground that they're on, breaks the world between worlds, and she falls down, and you just see her fall into clouds, smoke clouds. Yeah. And then the next thing you see is a small figure appear out of the...
I started freaking out because I was like, that is not the same body shape that we just saw. Yep. That's the form of a child. That is a child.
And then the next thing you see is you see clone troopers running around her.
Yes.
Clone troopers running around her, and then
we couldn't breathe. Like, our breaths would we were holding our breath. We were like, what is going on?
But this was something that Star Wars fans have been dying to see forever. You got to see Clone Wars Anakin in his glory, in his armor, and all, and
short hair.
And then she just looks around and says, "This is the Clone Wars."
Yeah, it is.
He just turns around. Yeah, it is. And so you get to see that humor and that witty banter between both Ahsoka and Anakin, and you can kind of see it's almost like the relationship. Before Anakin became Darth Vader, it's like their relationship went right back to what it was before. Yeah. And you see a lot of things happen really quick. So you see the Clone Wars, and then the Clone Wars immediately does it shift immediately to the Siege?
Or... I mean, they do kind of battle a little bit, and he kind of does his talk of, "My master brought me up that the Jedi were to keep peace and balance, but now, you need to be a soldier. You have to be a soldier and all that stuff." And so that kind of shows light of kind of her own imbalance of, I'm just supposed to be keeping the peace, but at the same time I was trying to be a soldier. Yeah.
Well, and Jenny and I had kind of talked about this a little bit, but it kind of, in seeing the live action version of this, it really brings a new light to the world of it shifts your mentality from the Clone Wars, because you can't really gauge Ahsoka's age in the Clone Wars because it's a cartoon. You can't really understand that.
Yeah.
But then you see her being portrayed by this younger girl, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a kid.
Child.
She's a literal
Yes.
kid, but the thing is, and that shows a new light of the Jedi, and you're seeing more people come out and like realize how messed up the Jedi were because they're training kids to then fight and lead other people to just fight battles and wars, and it's pretty messed up. So I mean this kid I would assume is like 13 years old.
There was the moment where she's sitting next to one of the clone troopers, and she had his hand on him, and she's like, we lost so many, and it was my fault because I was leading them. And I'm like, imagine being 14 years old and being in charge of like a whole, like, I don't know the terminology, your own little section of the guys, and
your own battalion
or whatever, and you just basically lose them all because you just did one thing wrong.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was.
Heavy.
It really shedded. Do I need to bleep that out? I don't know. Oh, sorry guys. I swear it's the Monster Energy.
It's not.
But we see this whole new regime of things happening. We then get to fast forward a little bit in time. You see Ahsoka with like a jeweled headband at first, and then you see her walk through another storm. But as she's walking out of the clone, so we're going from the Clone Wars and we're transitioning to the Siege of Mandalore. But as we're doing
like
this,
her, the Leku like change and get a little longer, and
that's not what I'm going to talk about.
I know. But that's the stuff I pay attention
to. Yeah, but I mean, you do see, Ahsoka, you see change between like the different times, but as they're transitioning from Clone Wars to the Siege, you see Anakin walk ahead. And
yes!
And so you see Anakin walk ahead, and he has his lightsaber ignited, and you see his silhouette of Anakin, and then you see it shift immediately to Darth Vader. Oh,
boom, Darth Vader. Boom, back to Anakin.
And so you get these glimpses, and these are the moments where I'm talking like this is one of the most visually pleasing moments, because the way that Dave Filoni did this, I was like I went like you got. It's one of those things you grasp. Was like, oh, what? And so because it's preparing us for episode 3, because as we're shifting to the Siege of Mandalore, we're starting to see the 332nd Battalion of the Ahsoka troops, which I totally missed.
That's what we had to watch a second time.
We had to watch it a second time, because during the Siege of Mandalore, they included the Ahsoka troops in there. Mm-hmm. I did not see them the first time. And then someone said, oh yeah, they were in there. And we went back, and sure enough, you could see them. But I think it's so cool, because during the whole Siege of Mandalore, you get to see the crossover. It would have been cool if you saw Bo-Katan. I think
it would have been so cool.
It would have been so cool if you saw Bo-Katan.
It kind of would have tied together, like from the Mandalorian, like how Ahsoka knows Bo-Katan.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, and so there's you saw Saxton, who was one of the Maul Mandos. You saw him in person. We saw Captain Rex, who was actually voiced by Tamora Morrison. So I was so happy that they brought him on. I would have loved. I'm hoping
to have more from him.
I'm hoping that. And this might be too much of a stretch. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that maybe he will be willing to maybe do like an old Rex later on, or maybe even while he's like still within youthful prime years, maybe even do some of the Bad Batch, like do some of that. I think it'd be really
that'd
cool.
Be so cool.
I don't know if they'd be able to, because there are some really distinct features between the Bad Batch. They're still clones, but they're still different. But
they're still different from each other.
That would be a cool one to like see. Also be live action. But anyway, so as we're seeing the Siege of Mandalore, it sets a new tone, because we see Ahsoka confront Anakin, and she says, "You're not." There's this whole little dialogue conflict between them, and Anakin's facing away, and so all you see is Anakin's back while she's talking to him, and then he said, "He's
like." So you're ready to keep training, live or die,
and then he says, "So I guess it's time to die."
yeah.
And then you see him ignite his saber.
Like,
and it's
because she said she doesn't want to fight anymore. She doesn't
she doesn't want to fight anymore.
She wants. Then you will die.
Then you will die. And he ignites the saber, and it's red. And then
he turns around. And he has his Sith eyes.
And so during the siege of Mandalore at the very beginning, he says, "Oh, I don't remember this." And he says, "Yeah, it was pretty intense." And so you realize that during this time, Anakin. This is where Anakin in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is happening. This is where Anakin and Obi-Wan fight on Mustafar. During the scene when he turns around, you see his eyes turn yellow, his lightsaber turn red, and we see the true beginning of Darth Vader. And it like gives me shivers thinking about it. But I mean, they start fighting and battling, and what happens? They're still in the Siege of Mandalore. Anakin actually pushes Ahsoka out of the Vision and back into the World Between Worlds. And then as he's walking back into the World Between Worlds, you see the transition, it was such a beautiful transition. You see Anakin, Darth Vader, going in and out of character, like just like that. And it was so crisp, so clean. And you see this battle between Padawan and Master, and there's like this cool greater struggle because we see like Rebels later on that Ahsoka fights Vader. And we see that, and we continually see this relationship between Padawan and Master, and they keep fighting and struggling, and then ultimately Vader dies. So Anakin dies and he joins the Force. So this is once Anakin has gone back to the good side. So it's
some people are saying this is where you are truly seeing where he's the balance in the Force, how he can shift between the light and the dark, like simultaneously in this part.
The theories. So, and there's a lot of things that go on to the World Between Worlds, and I mean, this is crazy that we're already like 50 minutes in talking about this stupid episode, which is funny because I knew I was going to talk about it. So I'm sorry, guys. This is something. When you get like something that you're passionate about,
this is something that we are passionate about, like these things.
Specifically,
and
and
you got me into it because I wasn't super into Star Wars whenever we first got together. Like I knew what it was, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I watched that Revenge of the Sith one or whatever." And so now I'm like full on building cosplays and stuff like that. So you made me this way.
You are like brother to me. Anyway, what are we talking about? Okay, World Between Worlds. So there's a lot of theories about the World Between Worlds because this is a place that is completely in flow, in tune with the Force. So meaning that time and space, past, future, present, are all one and the same, and they're all interconnected. And so meaning that people can interact with the past and present depending on what the Force deems necessary at that time. Because we see in Rebels, there's a scene, so like the Vader and Ahsoka scene. The door closes and we just see them battling, and you never see what happens at the end of that battle, so you don't know if Ahsoka lives. But then Rebels comes along and shows us that Ezra is able to tap into the World Between Worlds, and he goes and he sees the battle, and then he pulls Ahsoka into the World Between Worlds from that battle. So they're able to go in and intersect with specific times or places, but Ahsoka knew in that moment that she couldn't go into the future. She couldn't go into any other time. She knew that the Force says you have to go back to this time, because the Force says, yes, we can intermingle, but we have to intermingle the way that the Force is destined to interact. So, and I think you're right. I think you're seeing the balance of Anakin there being the true counterbalance of like the dark and the good. I think the Force, and this is kind of, this is kind of my perspective on like the Jedi and the Sith religions. I think there really is no right or wrong to it. I think I kind of have a sense of like they call it the gray Jedi. There's a little bit of light, a little bit of dark. One can't exist without the other, and so I think even in the world of like the sequels, which no one wants to talk about, the one with Rey and the First Order, I still think there will always be some type of light and darkness because they're one ever evolving entity, and like one has to live with the other. But they're all part of the Force. Like there's not just the light side, the dark side. They are one thing together, and that's basically what the Worlds Between Worlds is. You get to see all of these people who have learned how to manifest themselves as like a space ghost. I think, to my knowledge, Qui-Gon was the first one. Qui-Gon was the first person that learned how to become a space ghost, space force ghost, space ghost, whatever you want to call. He was the first one, and then Yoda was the second one. Which is funny because Yoda trained Obi-Wan how to do it, but Obi-Wan died before Yoda, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's funny. But then we realized that Anakin never really learned how to do it, but the theory that I've seen a lot of people talk about is we see Anakin as a Force ghost. We see him, but he never had that formal training. People are saying that whenever he died, he went to the World Between Worlds, and Obi-Wan taught him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because that was his master.
Yeah.
So, because it's always the master teaching the Padawan.
Yeah.
It's always the master teaching the Padawan. Because you see Yoda tells Obi-Wan, but Qui-Gon was his master, and Qui-Gon was already in there. And so it's kind of cool. And we see remnants of like the World Between Worlds throughout Clone Wars and Rebels, and it's really cool because there's a whole nother like Force. How do you know what I'm talking about? Like the family.
Oh,
like the owl,
like a little bit.
There's
the
father and the brother and the sister.
Yeah.
And I need to rewatch it. I will be honest. I need to rewatch Rebels because I've only watched it like once or twice, and I've never really intentionally watched it.
Yeah.
It's just been kind of one of those things like I've half watched. But now it's like so more prevalent now because this episode, it was nothing but, this series has been nothing but Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah.
And we've talked it, and you and I talked about this a little bit, and I know I keep talking, I keep monologuing, I apologize. But
you've forgotten a part of the episode.
What did I forget?
Jason and his Force abilities.
Yes. Well, and
I think we'll get more into that in this series. But
I'm hoping, because Jason is the son of Hera and Kanan, which they were talking that Merrick might have been even a clone of Kanan.
That was another theory.
That was another theory. But one of the most heartbreaking things, and I saw a TikTok and I started crying over a stupid freaking Star Wars TikTok. It was Hera has a picture of Kanan in the dashboard. And I was like, no. But the crazy part is, it looked like Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
It did.
I couldn't see it that well. Like I could see like what it was, and I knew like what it was,
blurry.
But I couldn't clearly see it enough.
You can't clearly see it, but
they made it look like Freddie Prinze Jr.
I mean, you know why, right?
Because he's the voice.
He's the voice.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that there is some way that Hera gets to see a relationship, whether it be like the World Between Worlds or the Force, or Jason gets to see Kanan. That would be really cool.
Like some way the Force interacts with him, and
because you obviously know that he's in tune to the Force, because he's hearing all these battles happening in the World Between Worlds, so he's Force sensitive. But even Hera, he tunes in Hera, and Hera starts hearing them. So I think there's some potential there. It's really, really cool. So we'll see what happens with that. But what I was going to say was the reason I think that this show, and this is basically the show in a so far in a nutshell, the episode ends with Ahsoka coming back to life and finding a way.
She's bald.
She is bald.
She doesn't have a headband on.
Yeah,
it's really weird and uncomfy.
I mean, it does feel pretty weird. Not gonna lie. I was like, what? Like that was another thing. I was like, what?
I was like, oh, that happened.
Yeah, the spicy. Ooh.
People are like, they didn't warn us that there'd be a nude.
I know. And it's just all you see is her forehead. Oh gosh. No, but that's very funny. So the end of the episode, you see Ahsoka hopping in the mouth of a space whale.
Yeah.
And what we see is them traveling intergalactically. You don't see them where they end up. You just see them hop and travel. But I think, and we can like wrap up here for too long because I feel bad because I've been talking for so long. But the reason I think this show resonates so well, and the reason that seeing Anakin's character come back and just kind of sewing that line of continuity between everything, it really, everything that we have seen in the prequels, the original trilogy, Clone Wars, it really is the legacy of Anakin Skywalker. And now we are, and this is something that I fully believe, and I'm hoping Dave Filoni runs with it. I'm hoping he sees it. This is really the story of Anakin Skywalker handing off the baton and then taking that story and giving it to Ahsoka. Because everyone, they made those sequel movies, 7, 8, 9, whatever they were. They made those 7, 8, 9. They just made those for money. There was no real continuity there. Dave Filoni should have been way more involved in the process. If they were going to make movies, he should have been in there.
Yeah, because look what he's done so far for the universe.
I mean, we're talking. I mean, he's bringing so many things into the world. Like so many things from like Legends are becoming canon, and I mean, the Night Sisters, and seeing that in live action, Clone Wars, Rebels. I'm sure we'll see Resistance come in before too long. It's literally taking an old story and just passing it on to the next person, because Ahsoka really is the continued story of Anakin Skywalker, because that is the master teaching the Padawan. So now we're seeing the Padawan become the master, because now that we're continuing the story of Ahsoka and Sabine. And so Sabine is currently somewhere else, but Ahsoka's going after them. So I see the next episode going in the pathway of, you see their journey to this other galaxy and like what Sabine's place is and all that. Like, is she a prisoner? Do they try to talk to her and try to reason with her? Well, and like, see why we're doing this, you're also doing this, blah 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 blah. Well, and I mean, to Sabine, Ahsoka's dead. Yeah. She doesn't know Ahsoka's alive. Yeah, she doesn't know. She thought she died when she went off the edge of that cliff. Yeah. So, and I think there's some really cool potentials and possibilities. That being said, Mandalorian and this Ahsoka series, we are now seeing something that hasn't happened for hundreds of years. I can't remember exactly how many years it was, but we are now, not only are we seeing Mandalorians, we're seeing Force-using Mandalorians. So we are seeing that with Grogu from The Mandalorian, and now we're seeing that with Sabine. Granted, Sabine is not very attuned with the Force. But she is a Mandalorian Force user. Maybe she'll learn something from Shin. Well, no. Here's the thing, though. And from them, and she'll tune into a different section of her Force-y Force. I don't think it has anything to do with Shin. I don't mean necessarily Shin, but I mean like something within that. I think the hierarchy comes from Ahsoka completing her training with Anakin, because when she went into it, it's small visual cues. Like, she came into it wearing gray and dark, and then when she submerged from it, she became she is like they did like a grand off the gray and grand off the white. She came out in this white, and you almost saw her like just. She had a completely different demeanor. Yeah, she was like lighter, like her personality. Yeah, she was like so stiff and very serious. And it's like she understood. Like, let's just go get in that whale's mouth. I have no idea if it knows where we want to go, but let's get in it. Well, not to like be like, it's kind of like a third eye had been opened.
Yeah.
It's like a third eye. It's like she had a new sense of awakening and a new being. It's just like she knew what she wanted to do, where to go. She doesn't know where it's going to happen, but she knows it's going to turn out where in her favor.
Yeah.
And so like you see this complete shift. So I believe that is signifying her training with Anakin being complete.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think because of that, I think Sabine will now be able to be a real Padawan, and I think she'll be able to start actually attuning into the Force and start using things.
Because it was part of it was like she was always trained as a child to be a soldier and not really to be like a peacekeeping Jedi. She's always trained to be a soldier, so it's like, how do I train somebody if all I know is all of this war training? Basically, is all she had. She wasn't really like super trained to like help keep the peace or whatever, you know.
Are we talking about Sabine or are we talking about Ahsoka?
I'm talking about Ahsoka.
Oh, yes.
With her struggle with training Sabine, because that's all she knew. Yeah. But that's not relevant at the moment for them.
But see, that's also what Sabine knew, and I think they were trying to teach each other in ways, and I think it just wasn't what both of them needed. I think Ahsoka needed to finish her training, and I think we finally have gotten that with the interaction with Anakin. I'm hoping there's more, that we see more, and I love seeing, like, going into the world between worlds. I love when the one thing I really did enjoy from the sequel movies was how they kind of dove into the Sith religion a little bit, like how they went to this, they found this relic that took them to a special world. I think those things are really cool, seeing them in live action. Like whenever Kanan did the Jedi trials, like if they would do stuff like that in live action, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, dude, that's so cool. Like I want to see those elements. I want to see the world between worlds. I want to see Yoda get tripped up in the Force world, learning how to become a Force ghost, or even Anakin when he died. Like I want to see those interactions, what happens. So I think Dave Filoni has the right ideas, the right things, and he's doing things I never even would have thought of. That last episode, it was so good and so fulfilling. I don't even need to watch. I mean, I need to watch. I need to know the conclusion. I need to know which.
I gotta know.
Yeah, I gotta know. There's so many things that can still happen by the end of this, because we still have 3 more episodes before the end of the series. I would have been happy just ending that episode with that, because it pulled on all the heartstrings. I made a stupid TikTok. It was pretty funny. Not really. It was kind of sad. Because it made you relive the moment of the siege. Oh, so you see like the moment of like Ahsoka is doing Order 66 and like all of her troops dying. That was great. No, that's terrible.
That was so great. I loved it. It was the best.
It was the best.
The best.
But anyway, yeah. So Next Hope, which I can only imagine what's going to happen, because I want to see. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some kind of compelling storyline. I imagine they're going to find Ezra. I imagine they're going to find Thrawn. So the question is, how do these last 3 episodes happen?
It could go any way, really.
Yeah. Do they find Thrawn? Do they stop Thrawn? Does
Thrawn prevail?
Does he come out, and does he go back to that galaxy? Does that start a whole new wave?
Are they able to get back to the other galaxy? Like, do they have enough like fuel supply to
I
get
don't know. See, that's the question. That's a great question. We're talking intergalactic travel, so I think there's so many cool things, and Thrawn is just the tip of the iceberg. So granted, they're talking like a new wave. This will be the next big bad. Maybe there's something bigger. Maybe there's something badder after Thrawn. And I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens. So we only have to wait 2 more days for that episode. So I'm excited. So I don't know. What are your closing thoughts for today, my dear wife?
I don't know.
What do you hope for the next few episodes?
So we know that she'll find Sabine, but I hope that there will be some sort of like connection. Like we know that Sabine like thinks she's dead. She's gonna see her. She's gonna be like, oh my gosh. And I hope that there is some new connection between them as Master and Padawan now that Ahsoka has quote finished her training.
Yeah.
Now, because I think that takes off an entire layer of her stress, because there's the one line that Anakin even said that was like, do you even want a Padawan? And she's like, like she even said that, and I'm like, girl, you actively have one right now. Like, what do you mean?
But
I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I think with this whole new kind of enlightenment that she has, that I really hope that it helps with her training with Sabine. But at the same time, I hope we get like maybe some like little bit of backstory of like the two like dark characters that we have. Like, well, even just the slight, because we don't really know where they came from. They're just kind of there.
I would love to get their history, specifically the guy's backstory. There's a lot of cool possibilities. I would love, I want to see their story get fleshed out. What happens with Thrawn and Ezra? You know, I'm excited to see what Dave Filoni does.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say any wishes or hopes, because I think he's going to do what he needs to do there. I would love to see a Force excursion with Kanan. I think
between like Kanan and Jason, or like Kanan and Hera.
All of the above.
That
I think
area.
If Jason can be the bridge to Kanan,
oh yeah,
I think that would pull the heartstrings just enough. Yeah,
I will cry.
Yeah,
like there's not a if. I will cry.
But
I cry
those are kind of my hopes and dreams, and I really think, I mean, I have my thoughts of what I think will happen with Sabine and Ahsoka, but only time will tell. And we've got 3 more episodes and a lot, which, I mean, so much happened in episode 5, which me and Dan, we were talking this morning, and they're like, how do you top that? How do you go from episode 5 into something? Because
man, they better have some good stuff coming up. I don't really doubt Dave Filoni, because he's brought us here so far. But he's got to have some good stuff to follow that up.
Well, and, you know, it was so funny because I saw so many people posting that before they even showed episode 5, the week prior, they were saying select theaters were going to play episode 5. So I immediately knew.
People were all like, oh, it's just for publicity to show people's reactions. And I'm like, I understand why they showed it in theaters.
Dude, if I would have seen that in theaters, I probably would have cried. I would have, I mean, it was great. So,
hey, let's watch it again tonight.
Yeah, we probably will.
Pop some popcorn.
But, for those of you that are watching that have stuck around, thank you guys for letting me talk, basically. And I would say it's been at least like 80% me talking, monologuing, so I apologize for that.
Welcome to our marriage. I'm kidding. He gets excited and I just let him talk because it's cute.
Well, I mean, for something that's like, well, and you're getting more and more into it, so
yeah.
And this is one that you're like adamantly excited about, and
ever since watching Clone Wars, I've loved Ahsoka and her character,
and that's where it got me.
Love it.
This episode specifically, going just all the Clone Wars flashbacks, like it's just I
think the Clone Wars series is really what made me like Star Wars. Like, I like the movies. Like, the movies are good. But, like, whenever I would sit and watch the series, I was like, I like this. I like this.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, truthfully, and this is, I prefer the prequels and the Clone Wars. Like leading up, and the Bad Batch. So, like, basically leading up to Order 66 and immediately afterwards. Those have been my go-to favorite series. Granted, I've watched The Mandalorian a million times. That's probably one of my it's one of my favorite series. But those are all
Book of Boba Fett was okay.
We don't talk about the Book of Boba Fett.
It was okay.
You know, sometimes you're batting 1,000, and sometimes we just
don't talk about it.
That's when we don't talk about it.
That's when we don't talk about it.
It was okay. It wasn't great.
It wasn't what we were expecting.
I had my hopes way higher for that show.
Yeah.
Because Boba Fett's always been one of my favorite characters, and it was just kind of like a meh series.
Yeah.
But everything else has been great.
They called it Mandalorian Season 3.
Well, on that one episode,
I
yeah.
think a couple episodes.
Yeah, because it was nothing but Mandalorian backstory.
Mandalorian.
But it's fine. But for those of you that are watching, thank you for tuning in and for letting me monologue for an hour. If you have watched Star Wars, or you're a Star Wars fanatic, or you're wanting something that's just compelling, or if you watched Clone Wars and want to get involved, this is one of the best times to watch, because I've never been so excited after watching that last episode. It truly was awesome to watch. Truly awesome. Which people always get hyped up. I don't think you can overhype that. There are some things that are a little odd in the episode. Like I pointed out to Jenny that
the forehead proportions.
The forehead proportion on young Ahsoka. It's a little weird. So you seeing that first time in person live action, it kind of catches you for a little bit. But then you see
I watched whenever we watched it the second time. Because I had looked at episodes of Ahsoka in the Siege of Mandalore, and they got the headband wrong. It was the headband that they got wrong, because it's like back on her head and her thingies are like sticking more straight up, and they've got them going back, and this thing's like poking out like that, and I'm like, but I mean, I'm nitpicking the minor details.
Oh man, yeah, like there are little things that like will kind of like catch you a little bit, but overall, I mean, seeing the moment, because immediately you see Anakin live action after that, and from there it's just amazing. It's so good. But again, thank you guys for watching. We will honestly, I think I kind of want to start doing this more regularly.
Yeah.
Doing it with Jenny and I. We might talk nerdy. We might talk video games. We might talk music.
Might talk anime.
Might talk anime. I don't know. Well, we used to do we did the yeah. Oh no. Oh my gosh. All right, and you're removed from the podcast. But we're going to do some more things, and I think we're going to do this more consistently. Hoping to get Tim and Nick back on some episodes, and so we can talk some more music stuff and just games and things like that. But we're glad to be back and start doing this. So go team,
Absolutely.
go. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow us on social media, all that good jazz. Check out our Spotify and YouTube, Apple Music podcast. Share it with your friends. Let us know what you think. If you watched it, what did you like about this last episode of Ahsoka? We thought it was amazing. We'd love to hear what you guys think.
Yes.
So until then, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye forever.